across the ocean blue, a bloodthirsty captain and a cutthroat crew.
It's as dark a tale as was ever told of the lust for treasure and the love of gold. Shiver my timbers, shiver my sides, yo ho, there are hungers as strong as the wind and tides, yo ho,
And those buccaneers drown their sins in rum. The devil himself would have to call them scum.
every man on board would have killed his mate for a bag of guineas or a piece of bait. A piece of bait.
A piece of it. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Hula waka, something not right. Many wicked icky things gonna happen tonight. Hula waka, sailor man beware.
Bring the money in the ground, there's murder in the air.
Murder in the air. One more time now. Shiver my timbers, shiver my bones. Yo ho, hee ho. There are secrets that sing with old Davy Jones. Yo ho, hee ho.
When the mainsail set and the anchors weigh, there's no turning back from any course that's laid. And when free and ready to sail the sea, you can bet your boots will be treachery.
Shiver my timbers, shiver my sails. Dead men tell no tales.
Hello, everyone. I am super excited to talk about Muppet's Treasure Island this week.
Same here.
Before we dive into the movie, let me briefly remind everybody how this works. So during the discussion, if you have any thoughts or anything you want to share, you can either share them in the Watch Club chat, or if you want to be unmuted during the discussion at any point, just let us know and we will unmute you. That way it doesn't get too crowded in here and, all that fun stuff. That's how this works. It's going to be fun. So are you guys ready?
I am ready and situated.
I am also ready and situated, but I will warn that I just had a huge thing of thunder. So if I disappear,
Oh, great. ... So let me start this off by saying I enjoyed my time with this movie.
I feel a butt coming.
However, this is not my favorite Muppet movie, and I think it is not anywhere near the top of my Muppet movie list.
Ooh.
All right.
You trying to start a rivalry with Brian now? You already got one with John.
This is my favorite Muppet movie.
Really? Wow. Okay.
The original Muppets and then the 2011 Muppets are probably very, very, very close second and third. But this has been and probably will forever be my favorite Muppets movie.
I will say it's probably like 3 or 4-ish. It's up there, but it's definitely not in my favorites. I think the one thing that set me back on this one is that there's not any super memorable songs.
How dare you?
I say that, and I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say it. I liked it. But I think every Muppets movie so far has had at least one standout song, even, and I hate that we're going to say this because I really don't like this movie. I liked a lot of the music in Muppets Most Wanted more than I liked the music in this.
Ooh. Now, I will say, I think the music in Muppets Most Wanted was like the saving grace of that movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so I get that for sure. But yeah, it's hard to compare the two. I will get to it later, I know, but I really, really, really love Professional Pirate in this movie. And I think Tim Curry, along with this entire movie, absolutely killed it at that point. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'll save that for later.
Okay, well, let's talk about the actual movie. Like I said, I did really enjoy my time with this movie. I really liked it. I also think that it may be fatigue because I've seen way too many Treasure Island movies.
So, on that note, before we get started, as many times as I've seen this movie, I have actually never seen the 1950 Treasure Island.
Me either.
Really?
I never have. And I went back and I watched it before I watched Muppet Treasure Island. And I'll say, obviously, I think Muppet Treasure Island stands on its own. But having gone back and watched Treasure Island, It's funny to see some of the allusions that they make to it that I kind of missed watching it so many times.
Funny thing that I was paying most of my attention to, I watched Treasure Planet fairly recently.
I was also making those parallels.
It's really easy because they're the same source material, obviously the whole Treasure Island story, but it's very weird when you watch them and you're like, huh, I've seen this very recently, but not this movie. All right, so let's talk about the actual movie. Like I said before, if there's any point during this discussion that you have a point you want to talk about, either share it in the Watch Club chat or just let us know, and I will unmute you so you can have your time to discuss too. So, do you want to take the discussion on this one, Brian, since it's one of your favorites?
I can, as many times as I've seen this, and also I took kind of fairly extensive notes about like the plot and stuff too, instead of just comments that I wanted to make as I watched through it. I can do that.
Okay.
First thing that I'll say is that if you start watching this on Disney Plus, the first thing that pops up is the castle logo and the fact that this is rated G, which I am kind of surprised because they snuck some stuff in there. But yeah, so we open up with this flashback scene, which I love because I think it's incredibly efficient because we get the opening credits along with this song, which I actually really like. And then also a bit of the background story from Billy Bones. So I think this opening sequence does that really well.
I just want to say that I really like that in the opening credits, they have like Kermit the Frog as Captain Smollett and the Great Gonzo and Rizzo the Rat as themselves.
That's a very Muppet movie thing, though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Muppet movie in a really long time, and I guess I just forgot that they did that, but it made me smile nonetheless.
It is a really cute touch.
Yeah, at the end credits, they give specific credits to the Muppets actors. But I do like that because that's the thing about Muppets movies, or at least these Muppet movies where it is a satirization of some classic novel or movie. That it is you're coming there because you're curious or excited to see this Muppet character play this role. So. So this opening flashback with the credits and everything tells the story of the original group of pirates led by Captain Flint, who hid this treasure on this island before Captain Flint murdered all the ones that went on land with him and left with the money. And now nobody knows where Captain Flint's map is.
Ooh.
Woo.
So we cut back to present day with Billy Bones telling this story at the end. And obviously everybody at this inn has heard this story about 1,000 times because they can all finish it with the same line. I feel like everybody that has seen this knows, okay, Tim Curry's in it. Tim Curry's like the main non-Muppet star of this movie, and he absolutely kills it, no doubt, 100%. I think Billy Connolly does a fantastic job as Billy Bones in this. He gets very much overshadowed by Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think he does a very good job in this relatively short role.
Yeah, I really liked him as well.
Speaking of the casting of Tim Curry, to overshadow your comment, do you know who else was considered for his role?
I actually do not.
Both David Bowie and Mick Jagger were considered for the role of Long John Silver before they cast Tim Curry.
As much as I like the movies that David Bowie starred in, I think he did an incredible job in Labyrinth. I think he did an incredible job in, what was the magician one where he played Tesla?
John knows.
Help me out. But The Prestige, yes, thank you. The Prestige, he did great in that.
Thank you, DMG.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to, or like I know that Tim Curry did this and I'm used to him being the one that played him. But I don't know.
I don't think I could imagine anyone else in that role.
Especially Bowie. I don't think I would have liked Bowie in this role.
Yeah.
As much as I love Bowie, I feel like Tim Curry was the right pick.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger, I really don't think.
That's interesting.
Although I've never seen him act in anything.
Another couple fun Tim Curry facts about this movie. He considered this one of his favorite roles because he was a huge fan of the Muppets. And also, apparently, when they wrapped filming, he was given a Muppet made in the likeness of him as Long John Silver.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shut up.
Which is such a cool little fact. I love that.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
That is cool. And I really think you can see it, not just the fact that he's a great actor, but he seems like he is having so much fun in this role. And I really think that comes through.
Yeah. Here, I have a picture of it. Let me send it to the chat because I think you'll all appreciate this.
That's so funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love him so much just in general. He is truly a gift. But I agree with you. He really did seem like he was having a great time in this role.
Yeah. But back to the plot. At the end, we are introduced to Jim Hawkins along with Gonzo and Rizzo. And I do like that it's this trio of them kind of playing this role instead of it just being Jim Hawkins. And I think it adds to it. After seeing the original Treasure Island and even like, Treasure Planet and stuff, it makes a lot of sense to kind of throw them in there, especially with this being a Muppets movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hit you with another factoid here.
Mario with the factoids.
Look at this.
I looked at a lot of IMDb's facts before we started this. So do you know why Gonzo and Rizzo are the sidekicks in this one? More so like the sidekick to Jim Hawkins?
No.
Are they kind of the sidekicks in general, though?
They kind of are, but originally the role of Jim Hawkins was split between the two of them,
Oh.
and their character names were both Jim and Hawkins.
That's cool.
Interesting.
But apparently it didn't fit with the whole like coming of age story, so they just ended up being themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like
Which I think works a lot better.
I think so too, for sure.
I think for some of the things I'm going to say about this movie, one of the best parts of it is that all the Muppets are cast as themselves, which I cannot say for the ABC show. So
Along here too, at the end is Mrs. Bloveridge, who is, I'm assuming, the cook / owner / landlord of this inn.
With an excessive amount of booty.
Excessive. But I think she's a fun little minor character that they throw in here. But after Billy Bones tells this story and all of the guests of the inn start leaving, I love this little 1-2 punch of a joke, and I'm probably going to butcher it by trying to like read it out.
Oh, no.
But I love this, and it's one that I missed so many times watching this as a kid and like seeing it now. But everybody's walking out, and Mrs. Bloveridge is yelling to everyone as they're leaving, "Tomorrow's special is roast suckling." And then these 2 pigs are walking out, so she like stops and she says, "Potatoes." And then they say, "Oh, okay," and leave. But then like the last Muppet to walk out is like a potato. So I was like, you get the 1-2 punch of her changing it from pigs to potatoes, but then there's actually a potato Muppet. So I love
That's
that.
great.
Yeah.
Then we also get this first little somewhat joke that gets carried through the first part of this movie about the how does she do that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that joke was I did not like that joke.
It did get kind
A
of
little overdone.
Yeah, and especially considering she was only in this movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that joke happens 3 times.
No build up.
Yes. But after everybody leaves, we get this song from Jim Hawkins and Gonzo and Rizzo just about wanting a better life, to get out and do something adventurous. And I think that this does a really good job for kind of setting up the tone for the movie.
I really like the part where they're like, "Oh, we're family even if we don't look alike." And Rizzo says, "So what? I'm a rat and you're a human." And Gonzo says, whatever. Is that a Muppets joke that I just never heard through the years? Because they do it twice in this movie.
It's a late Muppets thing.
Yeah, Muppets from Space is like, that is the entire plot of Muppets from Space, is that they don't really know what Gonzo is, so he finally finds out he's an alien. But
I love that because it's like, whatever. And I was just like, yeah, what is he? I thought to myself, I was just like, I guess I never really thought about it, but I liked that.
So my negativity.
I love Al says, "Does anyone else realize you can tell exactly when Mario is going to be negative?"
I try to cushion the blow a little.
Your tone just twists a little bit.
Well, okay. This is so bad, and I hate that I'm going to say this. I think that Kevin Bishop, who plays Jim Hawkins, I hated his singing voice through this entire movie.
it is constantly falsetto.
So you know what's funny about that? This is what started my digging on IMDb facts, which apparently he went through puberty while filming the movie, so they had to overdub his performances with him singing to older recordings of the song, which may have something to do with that.
Huh.
I thought it was great that he sounded like a girl, very high-pitched singing voice, because then the joke comes in later
Yes.
about, "Oh, a little girl." And I was like, okay, I like that.
One thing that I will say that I do love about not just this song, but every song in this movie, they break the fourth wall and they address the fact that somebody has just like broken out and started singing at some point. And they do that with this one too, which I love, because after he's done singing, Billy Bones comes down here kind of drunk out of his mind, yelling at them about singing.
Enough with the singing.
Yeah.
But then there's a mysterious knock at the door.
There is. And Blind Pew shows up, and after watching like the original Treasure Island and going back and watching this Muppet always scared me as a child. And like I still to this day think, oh wow, yeah, like go back and watch Treasure Island. Muppet Blind Pew is way, way scarier than real Treasure Island Blind Pew.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so he comes in, and then I love as Gonzo and Rizzo are hiding under the table. We have this line where he's some kind of blind fiend, and Gonzo says, I think they prefer visually challenged fiend. But yeah, Blind Pew walks in, and yes, after grabbing a hold of Jim Hawkins and thinking he's a girl, he gives Billy Bones the black spot, which is basically a death sentence for pirates, saying that the rest of the crew is going to come and murder him that very night.
I like that they give them a warning.
Yeah.
Is it in the pirate rule book, I guess?
Apparently.
I love this part when he starts like gagging and choking and like falls on the bed.
So good.
And Rizzo goes, he died? This is supposed to be a kid's movie.
I love it. And I know that, breaking the fourth wall is like such a Muppet trope, but I think this movie is one of the best examples of them doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But it turns out at least the first time he dies, he's not actually dead. And he informs them that he was actually a former crewman on Captain Flint's boat. And he is the one that has been in possession of the treasure map this entire time.
You just kept telling the story to throw off suspicion, huh?
Apparently. But before dying for real the second time, he gets Jim, Gonzo, and Rizzo to go through his treasured chest and dig out Captain Flint's old map. By about the time they do that, though, the rest of the pirates show up and start attacking the inn, and we get a great, funny little Benny Hill scene of the pirates chasing the Muppets around. They eventually drop gunpowder and a candle and set the entire inn on fire. But thanks to Mrs. Blubberidge kicking some pirate butt.
How does she do
How
it?
does she bloody do that? Gonzo, Rizzo, and Jim escape with the map and decide to go away somewhere on an adventure. So the next scene we get to is with them arriving at some unlisted port city. Oh, one thing too, though, that I love, I forgot I have this note in here. Before Billy Bones dies, when he warns them of the one-legged man, that's the important part because it's actually part of the plot. But then he also warns them of running with scissors or any other pointy object. That's good. But after they make it to the city, they are looking for Trelawney shipbuilders. Trelawney is not there, but his rich half-wit son Fozzie is.
All right. Does anybody feel like Fozzie is always the one that gets like screwed over in Muppet things lately?
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah, I guess. The joke with him talking to the person on his hand was like a little too much for me.
Mr. Bimbo?
Yes. I don't know why, but I that was another joke I really was not fond of anymore.
Oh my god, I loved that.
I know.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe I'm like super negative about this movie.
Mr. Bimbo saves the day at the end.
I guess.
When he first introduced Mr. Bimbo, I was like, I don't know about this. But then he says, he lives in my finger. He's very smart and he's been to the moon. And then he's like, wait, what'd you say? Oh, twice. Thank you. That's when I was like, okay, I think I like this joke.
There were times where it was funny, but then like sometimes it was like, all right, they're playing Fozzie up to be real dumb here, which I gets the point.
I think a lot of it is, this is probably not true at all, but Muppet Christmas Carol was the Muppet movie that came out directly before this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the only time they used Fozzie in that movie was to play Fozziewig. He was in there for 2 minutes, and it was clearly they just cast him in that role because of the name thing.
That's true, and I think this does a lot better because it does put the Muppets in roles that are similar to their characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Fozzie's the one that always gets the short end of the stick with a lot of stuff. And even though that is kind of his character, so it's not as bad.
But I will say, going back and watching the original Treasure Island, is that Trelawney's role, like he was kind of the rich, bumbling idiot that was messing a lot of things up. So I think this is a good role to put Fozzie in.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess we should also say that Fozzie is also unaware of what the ocean is, the big blue wet thing.
The joke that comes up again.
Yes, it does. And then also Beaker and Professor Honeydew come in. Professor Honeydew is playing the role of Dr. Livesey, I believe is what was the name. They mention it like once in Muppet Treasure Island, but he was a pretty significant role in the actual Treasure Island movie. And I think this was obviously just a way to get them in there. They don't have very much going on in this movie.
No.
But I would have liked to see more of them. I think that's one of the negative things I will say about this.
Yeah.
But after Rizzo and Jim and Gonzo show Fozzie the map, they agree to fund the expedition, charter a boat, and go find the treasure. We cut to the crew loading up on the Hispaniola, the ship that's going to take them. We also get to see Statler and Waldorf.
I love that.
I love this role
The
for them.
carving on the front. It's perfect. It really is perfect. And of course, they always have some snarky stuff to say. So
Yeah, they're like, why? I hate being stuck at the front of this ship, but at least they're not in the audience.
yeah. So everybody's loading up on the ship. While they're waiting on the captain, the trio go downstairs and they meet Long John Silver, played by Tim Curry. Fantastic job. As the cook in his galley, and also his pet lobster Polly.
Don't you also meet Kermit and Sam Eagle before that too? Because we can't gloss right over that.
He hasn't showed up.
We're waiting for Kermit to show up on the ship, and
Okay, right.
Yeah, and Sam Eagle doesn't come until right before Kermit comes.
Okay.
So after we meet Long John Silver, they become buddies. Obviously, we get the kind of running trope that Rizzo likes to eat a lot of food, so he's obviously going to get along with them. But we also realize after they've become pals that Long John Silver only has one leg.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he may, in fact, be the one that Billy Bones warned them about.
Ooh.
Which I always thought was kind of like a weird thing, too. Not even just with Muppet Treasure Island, but how many people in the world are like missing a leg, and you can't just warn somebody about that. Like that could be a ton of people.
Maybe it was different back then.
I mean, it's also kind of a pirate trope too, isn't it? Like peg legs.
Yeah.
He did say something about, a lot of guys have lost their legs and even worse, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure there's a ton of people out there with only one leg.
Mm-hmm.
But, plot convenience, this does happen to be the one-legged guy.
And it also, I mean, this is also a thing that happens in every kind of like iteration of Treasure Island too, is like
You almost said Treasure Planet.
yeah, I was gonna say that because that was what I was thinking of. Like in every iteration of Treasure Island, like this is a thing that happens early on. Like you get the warning about John Silver, and then you meet John Silver, and it's, I don't know. I don't mind it as much as I think you guys do for this, which is weird because I was being negative about this movie.
I mean, I get it. It's, you got to move the plot forward and give the warning somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think that, especially with Muppet Treasure Island and Muppet Christmas Carol, these are stories that everybody knows. Everybody knows what's going to happen. That's no secret. It's how they satirize it that really is what makes it. So I'm okay with stuff like that because we know that this is the plot of Treasure Island. So we know it's going to happen. But back on deck, everybody is getting ready for the captain to show up. And this is where we meet Sam Eagle as Mr. Arrow. I think this was another great Muppet casting.
This is also the first time that he's like the main focus of anything Muppets too. Because if you think back before this, like he was always kind of a side character. And even in Christmas Carol, he was like
very minor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very minor. This is the first time he's moved up to like a main cast role.
Mm-hmm. So I love his little funny thing, I guess, is that he's like way, way extra about everything going on at the ship.
Yeah.
And is trying to make it seem like the captain is going to be doling out lashes. And
a raging volcano.
Yeah. So the carriage shows up. A man steps out, but it turns out it was just the chauffeur, and he steps aside to present Captain Smollett, played by Kermit the Frog, who I'm pretty sure, even if you hadn't seen the movie, you saw this coming.
Right.
Also, can we talk about how perfect it is that Kermit's first line is "Hi ho"?
So good.
Uh,
Especially with all the build up that Sam Eagle gave him, and then for it to just be like, oh, it's just little Kermit, and then his little hi ho. So they're getting ready to set sail, and I love this little kind of side plot that happens is that in order to make some extra money, Rizzo has rented out
yes.
the ship is like a cruise ship.
This is the best.
And I love this because everything else is, I think, like, what, 1800s this is set in, 1800s, but it's like modern day stereotypical tourist rats that are getting on to this pirate ship.
The part about this that I love is that this comes up so many times throughout the movie, but it's blended so perfectly.
So good.
It just the one part where I forget what song it's during, but when they mention the margaritas at the buffet.
I love his little line too, that his cruise company puts the rat in pirate.
I also like that one of the rats that he welcomes is Mr. Plague Man.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, he's like, welcome on board, Mr. Plague Man.
That's good. I didn't catch that.
That song is super catchy, though.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name of it. I'm assuming it's Hey Ho. But pretty much just a good little kicking off the journey song thrown in there. And again, we talk about, or I said earlier that, every time that they do a song, they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit. And here too, like, they're in the middle of singing, and like Sam Eagle says to Long John Silver, like, don't get sloppy just because we're singing a song now,
Yeah.
They address it almost every single time, which I love. So after that, we have the roll call scene, which I love so much.
So good.
Yeah.
Taking roll of everybody on there. And then, of course, we get old Tom, real old Tom, and dead Tom, who is just a skeleton.
Dead Tom is such a good joke. And that, again, comes up later in the movie, but it was so good.
But we would be remiss not to also mention big, fat, ugly, bug-faced, baby-eating O'Brien.
Oh, yes.
It's a good one. So after doing the roll call and seeing the ragtag crew that's on board, Captain Smollett calls everybody into his quarters to kind of discuss what happened.
All of the good guys.
All of the good guys, yeah. So here we've got kind of like the separation where obviously all the other people are the bad pirate people, and then everybody that gets pulled in this room will be like the good guys, with one exception that comes up later, but I'll hold that till the end. And I love this. As they're discussing this, this kind of throws back to the original Treasure Island at Long John Silver is actually the one who, well, in the original one, he is the one that actually hired the crew. In this one, Mr. Bimbo hired the crew, but mainly due to suggestions from Long John Silver. But Long John Silver decides to bring in some alcohol for them to drink to set sail on the journey as a toast to get things going. And I love this. Like, they have this back and forth where, Long John Silver keeps telling them, like, oh, no, you have to drink. It's tradition. And then Kermit will say, no, not on this. So they keep throwing it out the window.
That was really good. I do like that.
Yeah. Finally, one of the rats pops up and says, you're peeling the paint off the shuffleboard court. And so I didn't really realize this until going back and watching the original Treasure Island, is that in the original one, the way that they actually kill Mr. Arrow is that Long John Silver gives him alcohol and he gets drunk during a storm and falls overboard. So I feel like this was kind of alluding to that in a way.
Huh.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen this in such a long time. I thought maybe it was his plot to poison the good guys, but I didn't think it would happen that early on. I just thought maybe that was his intent that just never got played out.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of it alluding to what you said.
So the first night on the boat, we get, I think, a really, really good bonding scene between Long John Silver and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing that I really, really love about this movie. And even seeing Treasure Planet, which I think did an okay job at it, and the original Treasure Island, which I thought was kind of so-so on it, I think they do a really, really good job of showing this bonding that takes place between Jim and Long John Silver. And I think it kind of pays off, because this whole, the whole thing is that Long John Silver is, I mean, he's a bad guy in this, no doubt, but like he has these sparks of being a really good person. And I think that's what makes him such a good character.
Yeah.
So the entire plot of Treasure Island doesn't really work if Jim and John Silver don't bond, I don't think, because that ties a lot of the later stuff in. I am going to disagree with you, though. I think Treasure Planet does it a lot better, and that's probably why I'm drawing a lot of the comparisons. I think, I don't know, with this movie, the biggest connection was that John Silver's like, oh, my father was a first mate, too. And, like, that's kind of it.
Well, and both of their fathers died when they were young.
Yeah. I think the thing that you kind of can draw from this is like John Silver in this one goes to the point of saying like, oh, me too, for everything that Jim says. At least with Treasure Planet, he kind of becomes the father figure instead of just, oh, this is an older version of Jim.
Yeah. I do agree that Treasure Planet, they do seem to form more of a bond.
I need to go back and watch Treasure Planet. It's been a little bit since I've seen it.
Oh no, hold on. We got to stop because John's typing something and I feel him disagreeing with me.
Oh god.
Anyway.
Also in Treasure Planet, they have this like montage scene of Silver showing Jim like how to tie the knots and do the things that a dad would teach you how to do, which we didn't have in this. We only had a few glimpses here and there of their bond growing.
Yeah.
I still feel like in this movie they did, a decent job of actually showing that a bond was formed, even if we didn't get to see it happen.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, it's not to say that this didn't do a good job of it. I just think that when you see the other forms of media that Treasure Island has come up with or spawned out of, that's one that I think did it maybe a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they form a bond. That's where we were with the plot.
One kind of important plot point here is that Long John kind of jokingly takes Jim's compass and tells him that he's going to throw it overboard. And Jim gets upset because that's like the last thing of his father's that he has. So that comes up later. So that's probably important to mention. But also here is when Long John tells Jim that the gossip going around the ship is that
the scuttlebutt.
That's the scuttlebutt.
The scuttlebutt. Yes, that there is a treasure map somewhere on board. And Jim, of course, doesn't say anything, trying to play the cards close to the vest.
Although I feel like not saying anything made him more suspicious.
Jim does a real bad job of keeping this secret this entire movie.
Yeah. He's a kid, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fun little cameo that we get here. And then one other time later in the movie that Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem are the ship band.
Oh, I love this. All right, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I think the part that got me the best was when you see them later in the movie and Floyd asks, whose side are we on? Are we with the pirates or are we with them? And he's like, man, you just don't question where the money's coming from. You play the gig.
Don't get into the politics.
Yeah, it's such a good one. Another perfectly cast role, I think.
The next day, some of the evil pirates capture Gonzo and Rizzo and try to torture them to get information about where the map is.
All right. I have a note about this one. Did anybody pay attention to Gonzo during this scene? Because Gonzo is very much enjoying his torture, and it turned me off in the weirdest way. I was like,
oh yeah, he liked them spaghetti legs.
But the entire time that they're stretching him, he's going, oh yeah. Like it's this weird, like I was, oh
yeah. I mean, and they say like, this isn't working. He's enjoying it. Let's try it on the rat.
I just think that they could have done that in a way that wasn't so sexual.
That's probably could have been done, but yeah. Oh, Teresa brings up a good point. We skipped over a joke earlier when we meet Polly, Long John's pet lobster.
Yes.
I actually wrote this down. I just forgot to bring it up. So they're talking about pirates, and then they introduce Polly the lobster, and Gonzo's like, I thought sailors had talking parrots as pets, and Polly replies, what an imagination. First pirates, now talking parrots. What's next? A singing, dancing mouse with his own amusement park? That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
But back to the torture.
That part was a little too weird.
Pretty weird. And then they are about to burn Rizzo, and luckily Mr. Arrow walks in at just the perfect time to stop them. So they lock the three evil pirates away, and then after this, Kermit tells Jim that he has to give him the map, and Mr. Arrow locks it up.
John says, okay, hold on. You have a problem with a guy who has an open relationship with a chicken enjoying physical torture?
Listen, if you don't question some things, they don't need to be brought up. And Gonzo and Camilla's relationship is not a part of it.
So after that,
So the torture.
Yes, it's weird. Luckily, it's not permanent. They string him up and close him like a blind, and then his legs and arms are short again. So
Not before, using him as part of the sale.
I like the scene where he's sitting there just like wiggling though. It's like, ooh.
So after that, we kind of get a way to show that some time's passing. They've been on the ship now for apparently 6 weeks, and everybody knows, especially nowadays with everything that's going on, when you get locked away for a long time, not able to do anything, you get cabin fever. So that leads us into probably the most unnecessary song in this movie, but I love it, so...
It's super relevant right now.
Super relevant.
I related to it hard.
I hadn't watched this movie in a while, and this was like the song that I remembered. Like, this stuck out in my head for some reason.
It's very catchy.
But it also, to me, it also comes in like this weird time. Like, I feel like it's a filler song, and it's like the one that I remember, which is very weird.
It's 100% a filler song. Like, there's no arguing against that, because you literally take this out and nothing is changed.
Yeah.
Though I do love, again, after the song's over, we cut down to the 3 pirates that got locked away, and we have another reference with, I forget what the goat's name is in this.
Oh, it's like Careless or something. Clueless?
Clueless, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, what was that song that was going on up there? Cabin fever. So, again, we're like 3 for 3 so far on. We had a song, and then there was a fourth wall break, and we're going to go 4 for 4 just to keep that going.
I also like in Cabin Fever, like they put all these different cultural references in it, and a lot of them obviously were stereotypes, but the one that stuck out to me was the German part,
Where
because it was literally it was gibberish. It was just like Volkswagen Wiener Schnitzel. I was like, that's great.
So after this, let's see. Long John and Jim have a conversation, and Jim kind of lets it slip that he did bring the map aboard. He doesn't have it anymore, though. Mr. Arrow locked it up, and that next night, Long John decides to trick Mr. Arrow as a way to get the map. So he tells a story about how one of his ship's crew, half of them died because the ship was sinking and they all went to get on a lifeboat and they didn't realize that they were leaky and they drowned. So because of that, Mr. Arrow takes it upon himself to try to test theirs out. So he gets in one of the lifeboats and starts paddling out, but to make sure he doesn't drop them, Long John gets Mr. Arrow to hand over his hat and keys for him to hold on to.
Smart.
The only thing I will say about this is that I don't really get, because it's not even like he did this and then he took control of the ship and then they went like a completely different route. I don't really know what Mr. Arrow's plan was and why he didn't just come back to the boat. But anyways.
Well, they had to have that in there for later, Brian.
Yes.
So the next day, all the crew believes that Mr. Arrow fell overboard and died, so they have a vigil for him. And while they're doing that, the 3 especially evil pirates sneak in, or I should say Long John lets them out of the brig, and they sneak in and steal the treasure map from the cabinet that Mr. Arrow locked it in. And then after that, Gonzo and Rizzo are kind of hanging out in an apple barrel, eating apples, and Jim walks by and jumps in it with them.
A mighty big apple barrel, all 3 of them sitting in it.
This is an allusion, I believe, to Treasure Island, because this is exactly how Jim Hawkins finds out about the plot in the original too. So I guess they had to do a really big apple barrel now because there's 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
So, but while they're sitting there chowing down on some apples, they overhear Long John and the evil pirates planning the mutiny. And then, very conveniently, right as this happens, they come upon the treasure island, and the trio go out to try to tell Smollett that Long John is planning to mutiny, but Kermit as Smollett thinks very quickly and decides to send all the pirates ashore to kind of map out the island and get their bearings set up and everything. And then they plan to leave while they're all on the island. But Long John outsmarts him once again, and as they're getting on one of the longboats to go ashore, he kind of kidnaps Jim along with them. So now Captain Smollett and the rest of the crew can't sail off without Jim. So at this point, it's kind of like the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows where they're at. They know who the evil pirates are and who the good pirates are. So that night, they all go ashore. And this is where Mario mentioned earlier. We get that great line from
I love this line.
From Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. It's a really great one. But sticking with the musical theme, we also get a song from Tim Curry, Professional Pirate, to try to get Jim onto their side. I really love this song. I think it's really good. It has a ton of funny little jokes and jabs in there at different professions. So. And then again, continuing with the fourth wall break as it's setting up, Long John Silver says, "This is my only number," before he starts singing.
I do like that song too. Maybe I was a little hard on it at the beginning. I do think that there are good songs in this, and I think this is one of them.
My favorite part is the guy that says he could have been a politician because he's always been a big spender.
I like when, I think it's Polly that says that he could have been a lawyer, but he had too much heart.
Yeah.
So another thing that they also kind of reveal in this song is that all of these pirates that Long John hired on were the original crew members of Captain Flint's ship, which is kind of, but not really important to the plot, I guess.
That's one thing I did not remember, and you pointed it out. I must have glanced right over that.
But while this is going on, Kermit, Gonzo, and Rizzo sneak off the ship, or I shouldn't say, they leave the ship to try to go save Jim, not realizing that some of the crew member that's left on board were actually some of Long John's men, and then they take over the ship. They take Professor Honeydew, Beaker, Fozzie, I'm not sure who else is left on the ship, but they take the ship over. So now pirates on the island have Jim, and they also have control of the ship. So good guys are not in a good spot here.
Yeah. Well, at this point, too, Silver gets Jim to hand over the compass. I feel like that's an important piece of all of this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, isn't this the point where we then get the song from Kermit and Gonzo and Rizzo's side after they're captured by the native tribe of pigs?
Yes.
And they're about to suffer the wrath of the queen.
Boom, shakalaka.
But before we start talking about that, they introduce some of the pig characters, and one of them's name is Spam.
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 Yeah.
And while I was in my fun fact search for things on this one, apparently Hormdale Food Corporations, the makers of Spam, sued the Muppet Production Company for this character name. But the suit was defeated because the judge said that one might think Hormdale would welcome the association with a genuine source of pork.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
That's good. And that's surprising to me. I feel like that's free advertisement.
Yeah.
Like, parody is covered under free use, is it not?
Yeah.
So get over it, Spam.
I just think it's so funny that they were like, hey, they're making fun of us. Let's sue them.
So this is when we get the introduction of Benjamina Gunn, who in the original Treasure Island is Ben Gunn, who was just one of Flint's crew members that he marooned on this island. But Benjamina Gunn is, of course, played by Miss Piggy. I think this was kind of a fun way to work her in.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get the first little indications that Benjamina and Smollett were like an old love flame. Again, continuing with the same trope that we see with Kermit and Piggy in pretty much every movie. So
I think this comes later, but can we talk about the fact that Miss Piggy has had a relationship with everyone in this movie?
This is the single greatest adult joke worked into a kid's movie I think I have ever seen.
Oh, I love this.
I love it so much. Yeah, so they're a little bit later on. It's not really skipping much. They talk about the fact that Kermit left Miss Piggy at the altar. He got cold feet. He's supposed to have cold feet because he's a frog. Good joke. So then after that, we find out that she kind of shacked up with Captain Flint for a little bit before he marooned her on the island. And then we get the best joke ever. Long John shows up here To which Miss Piggy says, "Hello, Long John."
Oh my
And
God.
Kermit says, "Oh no, not him too." That is fantastic. And also probably the main reason that I'm surprised that this kept a G rating.
I honestly didn't even pick up on the long part.
Oh, that
That's
was
funny.
Yep. uh,
I do just want to point out one quick thing I think we skipped is when the natives were taking the Captain Kermit away to see Miss Piggy, they passed by the Swedish chef preparing food.
oh yeah,
That's
And the
great. Yeah.
sentient tomato is like, well, how else do you think we were going to get him in this movie?
So good.
that's
Let's see. Jim and the pirates finally arrive at the spot where the treasure was buried, find out that it's missing. So the pirates kind of revolt against Long John. But before they do, Long John helps Jim escape, tells him wholeheartedly it's because he likes him. I think this is just reinforcing that kind of good guy but bad guy role that Long John Silver has to play. So after Jim gets away, he goes back and he frees Rizzo and Gonzo. Then we have that hilarious scene with Miss Piggy and Kermit. So then we cut back to the pirates, and they have mutinied against Silver. They have him tied up, and apparently during this whole thing, he shot dead Tom.
This joke landed really well with me too. I liked that they were like, "Kill dead Tom," and they're like, "Wasn't the whole point that he was dead?"
I like the moment of mystery that they had when they were like crying and grieving, and then they showed who it was actually. You didn't know that it was dead Tom yet. It was just like, oh, somebody died, and you're like, oh, it's just dead Tom.
And then when they say, "Hasn't he always been dead?" and then he just kind of goes, "Oh," and like throws the skeleton to the side. Very well done joke. But just like in the original Treasure Island, the black spot that the pirates gave Long John was made on a torn out page of the Bible, and he convinces them that because they've done this, they're going to go to hell. So they change their mind, free them, and let them go again. So now Jim, Rizzo, and Gonzo realize that they need to try to take a longboat back to the ship. But when they get to their longboat, they find out that it's been destroyed by the natives. But just in time, perfect plot device, Mr. Harrow shows up paddling his lifeboat, clueless to everything that's been going on, but shows up at just the right spot on the island where three are.
An exceptionally safe longboat. I love that he's also like, I don't think that Long John Silver guy is very trustworthy, by the way.
So let's see. So now Long John Silver and the pirates show up where Kermit and Miss Piggy were. They ask her where the treasure is, and she refuses to tell them. So they tie both of them up over a cliff with a fire burning under the rope until she finally reveals that the treasure was hidden at her house on the island.
Also, right when this scene starts, the tourist rats are walking by, and the tour guide says, "And this is the actual jungle location for the movie Muppet Treasure Island."
That was a good one too.
That was, I think, my favorite breaking the fourth wall moment in this film.
That was good. So the pirates go back to the house, find all the treasure and everything during the song. Meanwhile, Jim, Gonzo, and Rizzo are trying to take back over the ship, and due to the fact that pirates are very superstitious, they dress Mr. Arrow up as a ghost, causing all the pirates to abandon ship. So now the good guys have taken back over the ship. So as Miss Piggy and Kermit are singing their duet, Jim and the rest of the good guys are steering the boat over to the cliff where they can see that they're about to fall. Miss Piggy's rope burns through, and luckily Kermit catches her. And I love this shot when they like cut back to him struggling to hold her up
with the inflated eyes.
Oh, it's so good. But Kermit's rope is not going to hold for long, so the good guys on the boat are trying to get over to them as quickly as possible, and they get to them. They put the nets out to catch them, but fortunately, just as the rope breaks, they didn't get the ship quite close enough to catch them in the nets, but luckily, Statler and Waldorf on the front catch them. To which Statler says, "Waldorf, you fool, you saved them. You're a hero." And he says, "Well, it was too late to save the movie."
Yeah, I love that one too.
It's good stuff. So after that, the good guys come on land, and then we have this really epic sword fight between the good guys and the bad guys, which I'm honestly going to say I appreciate the choreography that must have gone into this to have real life people sword fight with Muppets and it actually work.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm willing to overlook my main criticism of this film, which was the CG bouncing Kermit.
It is kind of rough. But it's like every time in a Muppet movie where they have to show Kermit's feet for some reason, it is so uncanny valley every time for some reason. Like even in the original Muppets movie where he's like riding the bike, I'm just like, ooh, I don't like that.
You know which one gets me really bad with the uncanny valley kind of thing? The scene where him and Fozzie are dancing.
Oh, yes. They need to stop doing this. Like, Kermit's feet do not need to be seen anywhere in a Muppet movie. I did love this, and no joke. I've watched this movie so many times as a kid growing up. I have had to have seen this movie at least 50 times, and I'm really not exaggerating. And I had never caught this before, but like on shore when they're fighting, Fozzie has an arm patch on his jacket, and it's just a skull and crossbones with a line through it. There's just so many subtle little things like that they throw in here that I never caught before. So
yeah, John also brings up a good point here, considering that Kevin Clash was the main puppeteer for Fozzie because Frank Oz couldn't do the actual puppeteering on this movie. Elmo did the sword fighting in this.
That's awesome.
Let's see. So, then we get the great one-on-one sword fight between Kermit and Long John Silver.
This got a good chuckle out of me too.
Oh, it's so good. So obviously, Kermit is the better swordsman and is kind of toying Long John Silver and starts like cutting off pieces of his vest and gear and everything that he has strapped onto him, like messing up his hat, twirling the sword around. And because of all this showing off, the sword slips out of his hand. Luckily, though, all the good guys have apparently dispatched all the pirates. Oh, one thing too before this that I loved is that they're fighting. It looks like the bad guys are gonna win, and then Sweetums comes through and knocks them all over with the tree. And like Sweetums has been with the bad pirates this whole time, and they're like, "Oh, what? I thought you were bad." And they're like, "What? No, I love you guys." So
yeah, that's cute.
That was nice.
That was very on brand for Sweetums too.
Yeah. But after Long John is about to kill Kermit, all the good guys step in. And I love this like little back and forth where it's just like, kill so-and-so and you'll have to kill me. Kill so-and-so and you'll have to kill me. And then it finally gets to Rizzo. He says, yeah, kill Gonzo and you'll have to negotiate strenuously. It's a good one. So after that, everything's right. The good guys win, and they take off back to, I think it's England that this is based out of.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. So they're heading back to England. That night, though, with all the bad pirates locked in the brig, Long John discovers that he still has Mr. Arrow's keys on him from before when he took it.
A noob mistake not to check.
I know, right? Didn't even do a pat down before they put him in there.
Right?
But he discovers this and decides to take a couple of chests of gold and sneak off. Though as he's leaving, Jim catches him. And this really, like, I'm gonna say, not even a Muppet movie. This was a good scene.
Yeah.
This was a well acted scene between two actors in a movie that doesn't have to have that, and I really appreciated it.
It was super emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And even you saying like in a Muppet movie, the Muppets don't really play any part of this except for Kermit at the very end.
Really, it's just Jim and Long John, and it's good. And again, Tim Curry does a just absolutely fantastic job at this role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's about to leave, and Jim pulls out his whistle, threatening to blow the whistle on him. And then Long John pulls out a gun and points at him. And then Long John realizes that he could never shoot Jim. And Jim also realizes that he can't turn Long John in, knowing that he's going to probably be killed once they get back to England. And then also, of course, really the most touching part of this is that Silver tosses him back his father's compass that he took from him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So that one got me right in the feels.
Yeah.
Me too.
Good one. But yeah, like Mario said, after he takes off, it's revealed that Kermit was actually kind of watching this whole time and really commends Jim on the choice that he made. However, it is revealed that Mr. Arrow knows that one of the lifeboats is missing and it was terribly unsafe. So we get this great little cutaway shot the next day of Long John trying to paddle away, but his lifeboat filling with water and sinking.
Which that scene kind of lasts for a really long time.
Kind of does. We get the point. Like, didn't have to be drawn out. But yeah, and then the final shot is the remaining crew sailing away, and then we cut to a group of the cruise rats scuba diving underneath the ship, hoisting up some of the treasure.
That was great. The only other kind of complaint I have is that I feel like it ended really fast.
Definitely ended fast.
The pacing in this movie is kind of weird because the beginning feels like it drags a little, but then the end feels so abrupt. I don't know. I don't hate it. It's just really awkward.
I wanted a little more closure, I feel like. I don't know how they could have done it, but
Yeah. Though I will say again, like, because this is a saturation of a story that we already know, I can kind of forgive it for doing that
Yeah.
because, it doesn't really need to be wrapped up that cleanly when we all know what the ending is.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then I don't know if any of y'all stuck around for the stinger scene after the credits.
Oh no, I didn't know.
It's not really worth it, I'll say. We just find out that Long John made it back to the island, and one of these singing kind of like Easter Island heads that were in the opening song is there, like, telling him a joke. So,
Aw. Well, I'm glad he made it to the island at least.
Yeah.
mhm.
So, final thoughts on this. And if anybody wants to be unmuted, feel free to say so. I can unmute you. For us, final thoughts. Anything memorable that stuck out that you guys wanted to talk about, or anything specific?
I love this movie so much, as I've obviously said, and it's not a perfect movie. There's some stuff, like you said, some of the songs are unnecessary. Some of the pacing is a little bit off, but at the end of the day, this movie is so much damn fun that it's so very easy to overlook that and just have an awesome time watching this movie.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I think it is a really fun movie, and I do really enjoy it. I know I was kind of negative on it at the beginning, but I think the Muppets do a really good job of fitting in the roles that they're put in. I think that it's a lot of fun all around. Like, it's definitely middle of the road Muppet movie for me, I think. And I really enjoy it, and I know that I'm gonna go back to it. And I say middle of the road knowing that there's not a really bad Muppet movie in my mind.
I might disagree with that last point, but
There's not a really bad Muppet movie.
Okay.
There's some, hit or miss ones.
There's some that don't live up to Muppet quality, I would say.
Now I'm curious, which ones are they for you? Because
I think it's really easy to look at, like, Muppets from Space and
yep.
Muppets Wizard of Oz
Yep.
is two that fit into that category for sure. I wasn't as big, and I think a lot of people didn't like Muppets Most Wanted, but I didn't think it was terrible.
I liked it better on a rewatch, actually.
It's been a while since I've rewatched it. Maybe I need to give it another go too. But yeah, I think Muppets Most Wanted, the plot was just all over the place and not very good. But I think it did really good songs, like we said earlier, had really good cameos, I thought. So I think it made up for it in those areas.
For its saving grace, I think that we're doing a sequel and the interrogation song are both very good Muppet songs.
I like Tina Fey's too.
Yes, Tina Fey's was good. Overall, I do really like this movie. And the weird thing about this movie is I remember from, like, my younger years with the Muppets, this movie and Muppets from Space, and I watched both of them recently. This one's significantly better than Muppets from Space.
Significantly.
So that says something, I think.
And that's the thing that I really enjoy about this, is that as a movie that I loved as a kid so much, I don't know if I have another movie from my childhood that I feel like held up as well as this one does watching it as an adult.
That's true. I can definitely agree with that.
I thought it was very entertaining. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought a lot of the songs were super catchy. The only thing I think that would keep it out of my favorites list is the minimal emotional tugs. That's a big thing for me with it, like a movie being my favorite. But that being said, that was not the point of this film. So
yeah. Now, I know, like, you don't love the Muppets the way Brian and I love the Muppets, right, Beth?
I mean, I like them, but I'm not as big a fan as you guys for sure.
You've definitely seen this movie before, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
had just literally been like 10 years.
Okay. I was just curious
The last time I remember watching it, I was at a friend's house, and I actually texted him earlier today when I was watching it and was like, do you remember that time that we watched Muppet Treasure Island at your house? And he's like, yeah, duh. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to watch it, and I'm really excited because I remembered us laughing like a lot. And there was one scene in particular that we were like cry laughing at. And I feel like maybe it was a time and place kind of thing watching it together, because I definitely laughed, don't get me wrong, just not as much as I remembered or like as hard as I remembered. But then again, I was also, 10 years younger, at least 10 years younger. But that being said, I do still think that it holds up, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it.
So, star ratings. Anybody thoughts out of what did we do the last time? Was it 5?
We did
or was it
5
10?
last time.
Okay, so
No 0.5s.
out of 5 pieces of gold, where would you rank this film? Brian is going to say 6. I'm already sure of that.
I feel like you need to rate out of 10. I would give it a solid 8.
I would legitimately give this a 9. It is one of my favorite movies.
I'm going to say I agree with the 8. I think it's good. I think it's really good. I think when you compare it to things like The Muppets and The Muppet Movie, it has some weird weak spots, but like you said, this is supposed to be a parody movie. It's not supposed to be the same tone as those movies, I think.
Yeah. Mario, I'm gonna need you to kick John out of this Discord permanently.
I'm curious to see why he said 3. We're gonna have to wait for that one, but I'm curious because I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay, Al said we should rate it out of pieces of 8, and I did not get that joke like during the movie. Can someone explain? Is that a pirate thing?
It's like the Pieces of 8 thing. Yeah, pirate.
Yeah, it's a Pirates of the Caribbean thing too.
It's just money?
I don't know what the thing is in like actual pirate lore, but like in the Pirates of the Caribbean one, it's like the things that the like Pirate League members held on to like confirm their leadership or whatever. But it's something else like in pirate lore. So
Pieces of 8, I googled it, and the first Wikipedia article that comes up is Spanish dollar. So it's just money.
Okay.
And Al said in Pirates of the Caribbean, it's not actually money.
I kind of figured, but I had never heard that phrase, or I didn't remember that phrase.
Yeah. John wants to talk, so I guess I should unmute him
I'm just kidding.
so we can hear about his garbage take about Muppets Treasure Island.
just get the mute button ready.
All right.
So
Let's just mute you again.
Wow.
No, okay. You can come back.
here's why I said 3. And I suspect Mario might agree with me.
Oh, no.
3 out of 5?
Well, I was going 3 out of 8 because I was agreeing with Albert that it should be out of pieces of 8.
Still feel like that's low.
So if we're doing on a scale of 10, that's like a 5-ish. I don't think this holds up today. I think if this movie were to come out at some point currently, it'd get shredded. I don't think the music holds up. I don't think the jokes hold up. I understand it's a Muppet flick, and I love the Muppets, but I guess I'm holding it to a different standard than everybody else's. I don't know. It didn't hold up to what I remember it being when I watched it as a kid.
I guess that's fair. Like, if I can imagine if it came out in theaters today, that it probably wouldn't perform as well as, another Disney film or something of similar caliber.
I don't even think it would come out in theaters today. I think something like this would probably be like a Disney Channel flick or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
But you also have Muppets Wizard of Oz, which holds up way worse.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
But you got to look at this by itself, not in comparison to other movies.
That's fair.
You guys have been comparing it to a lot of other Muppet movies, and you should be looking at it as an individual. Just because there are worse Muppet movies and better Muppet movies doesn't mean that you should change your rating on this particular film.
Okay. And I see Al and DMG in the chat both said 5 or 6. Well, Al said 5 or 6 out of 8. DMG said 6 out of 8. And I kind of agree with that. I think maybe I had higher expectations going into this, and that might be why I'm a little bit like I want it to do higher, but also it didn't hit the notes that I wanted it to again.
I mean, 6 out of 8 is like 8 out of 10, is it not?
Right.
Which is what we said.
I just think that it does have some weak points that do need to be kind of addressed.
It does. And I'll say that obviously this is not going to be winning any critical awards or anything like that. But in my opinion, if you break down a movie for what it's trying to accomplish, and this is trying to be a goofy family movie.
Entertaining.
Exactly. The entertainment value that I get out of this movie, I think is great. And that's
Yeah.
why I am willing to rate it so highly.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that it does is it doesn't take itself as seriously as it could have.
Right.
And obviously that's a Muppet thing, but it has moments where it's serious when it needs to be, but it also, like DMG just said in the chat, I don't think it was parody enough for the Muppets. Felt more like it was a Treasure Island adaptation with Muppet jokes thrown in, not a Muppet movie based loosely on Treasure Island, which I definitely agree with that, because that's the one thing that I kind of had a complaint about, was that while the Muppets fit the roles very well, it didn't quite feel like a Muppet movie, but I also feel like there's some things that just didn't land right for me.
Here's one thing I will say, just as a small counterpoint to that, is that unlike A Christmas Carol, where I think that the story is way more well known and that it doesn't necessarily have to hold up on its own, I think with this not being so much of just a straight parody of Treasure Island kind of allows it to stand up on its own if you haven't seen Treasure Island before, which I think is kind of important because it's not as well known a story as like Christmas Carol or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I can't wait till we get to Christmas and we can watch A Muppet's Christmas Carol, because I will have nothing but good things to say about that movie.
Y'all, I don't know if I've ever seen
Oh,
it.
man.
Whoa. Okay, so we have to do that for Christmas now.
If I have, it is not in my conscious memory.
I feel like you would definitely know. We're definitely going to do it. Don't worry. For sure.
We just gotta wait till December.
Yeah.
Or July, Christmas in July.
It's kind of a dark movie.
I feel like I remember parts of it, but I also know the story of A Christmas Carol, so it's hard. I remember there's like a little Kermit with a crutch.
Yeah.
Whoa. There's a little Kermit. Do we not know his name?
Tiny Tim?
I meant the Muppet.
No. Kermit Jr.
That's it. That's the one.
It's Robin. His nephew's name is Robin. Beth, you're breaking my heart.
His nephew, who's his brother or sister?
What?
We're treading down very dangerous waters where we try to divide the Muppet family
Oh.
tree.
Does Kermit have a brother or sister?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then how can he have a nephew? Just saying.
You just don't understand frog family trees,
Oh.
okay?
I guess. His adoptive nephew.
Actually, hold on. We got to back this up because I don't know if this is going to be a thing that Brian knows, but there is a movie about Kermit's family.
Are you talking about the one that's also starring Michael Eisner?
Hello?
I was talking about Kermit Swamp Years.
I actually have not seen that.
What is it called?
Kermit Swamp Years. Here, I'll send you the
Swamp
Wikipedia
Years.
article.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
This looks like a fanfic.
It does. Just based on that image, looks like fan made.
I really wish I was kidding, but I found this in a $5 bin at Walmart. So
Is it worth watching?
I honestly don't remember. It's a 2002 movie, so it's like fairly recent.
I need to know if it's official Muppet canon, all right?
It was distributed by Jim Henson Home Entertainment.
I honestly don't remember this.
Does that not make it
I
canon?
didn't think it would.
Wild. You guys, this is like Star Wars. There's so much. I feel overwhelmed.
No, so you don't understand. Like, this is a part of the Muppets Legends series, okay? It doesn't fall in with canon Muppets, all
Oh
right?
no. The synopsis that this article has, which is 3 paragraphs, it says, bookended by an adult Kermit the Frog, the film tells the story of how he, as a youngster, ventured out of the swamp for the first time, along with his friends Goggles and Croaker. The movie includes several original songs, none of which I remember. So
The fact that one of them is named Croaker tells me the effort that they put into this movie.
there's a blooper reel at the end of the movie during the credits, backed by Me First and the Gimme Gimme's rock version of Rainbow Connection, which also should tell you everything you need to know.
That picture I just sent should tell you everything you need to know.
I'm not liking the few things I've seen so far.
DMG is right. This is the point when Henson Studios was owned by that German company, maybe?
You guys would know more than me, obviously.
Yes, it was. In December 2002, a deal was announced in which EM.TV would sell 49.9% stake in the Henson Investment Group. This movie came out in
2002, I think it said.
Yeah.
But the question is when in 2002? August 2002, so yes.
Okay, but Mario, you cut off the synopsis. You didn't say this part. There's no way I would have missed.
Oh no.
The story follows Kermit as he is followed by an evil school teacher and his assistant that want to catch the frogs to use in a high school science class. This sounds like a horror film.
Yeah, I think I blocked most of this movie out.
I think I'm good not watching it.
But apparently it was direct to video, which explains a lot too. Teresa asked if anybody's seen Muppets Frog Prince, because that's the only Muppet movie she remembers from her childhood and the sole reason she loves Sweetums.
I have not, but I'm intrigued.
I feel like I vaguely remember that movie.
Hockety Pockety also asks if anyone read the Muppet comics, which I did not know existed.
So Beth, if you want some deep lore, do you want to talk about Muppet Babies?
I do. I vaguely remember watching Muppet Babies.
And how
I watched that all the time as a kid.
and how Scooter has a sister that no one talks about anymore. Apparently she was in one of the comics. That's the only thing I remembered. But DMG also said that he wanted to plug the Defunct Land Jim Henson miniseries, which yes, let's talk about that because that was really good. I've been revisiting a lot of the Muppet movies lately, especially with like not having much better to do. And let me say, a lot of them hold up really well. I know I've mentioned that a lot today, that I've been comparing Muppets Treasure Island to the other movies, but the only thing that didn't hold up was the more recent Muppet series that ABC did. And I have a lot of feelings about that.
I just don't get how you guys have the brain capacity to remember multiple fandoms' extended lore like this.
Well, the Muppets doesn't really have an extended lore.
Well, you know about all these weird things that nobody's ever heard of.
Like what?
Like this frog movie with the evil school teacher.
I remembered this movie mostly because it was linked in a Wikipedia article, but it's sitting on my shelf from a $5 Walmart bin. I don't know. I don't think Muppets has a deep lore though.
Okay, well, Star Wars does, and I felt completely out of my league during that watch club.
Hockety Pockety says that they're also disappointed that there's not a lot of Muppets movies on Disney Plus, which that was my biggest disappointment when Disney Plus came out, I think.
Oh yeah, especially when they have like a Muppet collection thing that you can click on and there's like 5 movies in there.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Can we talk about how bad Disney messed up by not getting the Dark Crystal, though?
Oh yeah,
I still have not seen the Netflix show.
I have not finished it, but I've seen most of it. But just that universe is really amazing to me.
Yeah. I don't think that I ever latched onto the Dark Crystal as much as like everybody else did. I think it was really good, but
I watched the movie for the first time within the past year.
whoa.
Yeah, I was way behind the curve, but I really liked it and I thought it was great.
it's definitely Henson Studios. They're more disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Labyrinth, yes, but I will say Dark Crystal is, I think, even far more disturbing than Labyrinth was.
I would agree with that. I do love me some Labyrinth, though.
A role that Davy Bowie was perfect for.
Iconic.
When I looked up the page on Netflix for this Dark Crystal show, I remembered why I don't like the Dark Crystal as much. The faces on these Muppets freak me out.
Yeah.
I could see that.
It's just the weird skin. So what is our next watch club going to be themed around? Are we doing the release of Artemis Fowl? Is that our plan?
That was what we discussed for sure.
Is that something everyone here would be interested in watching? That's the question.
Yes, let us know in the chat, because if nobody's going to show up to talk about it.
So if you haven't heard, Artemis Fowl is the young adult novel series that is now going to be made into a live action movie on Disney Plus. I think it comes out next month.
Yeah, June 12th, I believe.
So
Yep.
that would give us enough time to watch it at the very end of the month. If that's something everybody wants to do. Oh no, Jordan's typing.
Uh-oh. Y'all got Jordan. I know she actually liked the book, so y'all got her excited.
Oh no.
Like we did this month, we could do 2. We could do one at the beginning and do Artemis Fowl at the end.
For sure.
Cool. So
Johnny Tremaine was John's suggestion.
for July.
What is this? I've never heard of it.
Me either.
John, you want to come on and tell us a little bit? Why don't you sell us on it?
I'm not sure I could do it without being a jerk. No, I'm just kidding. So,
I mean, can you do anything without being a jerk?
no, of course not. That's why I'm sitting in the kitchen and my wife's in the other room because I've been shooed away.
Ooh.
Johnny Tremaine is a film from, God, is it the 60s? I think it's like a Disney 1960s, right around the same time that.
Just looked it up. 57.
Okay. Basically, it is the Boston Tea Party, and it follows the, what's the term? The Patriots around in the Revolutionary War. So, 1776 and beyond, and just kind of, it's a telling of the birth of America from a different perspective, as opposed to it always being told from the founding fathers' perspective.
Interesting. So
So July 4th for,
I do love some political uprising.
that'd be a fun one to do for July.
just a thought.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've been going back and with Disney Plus and everything and watching some of these kind of like older live action Disney films that I'd never really sat down, or if I did, I was a little kid and didn't really pay attention to them. But like going back and watching Treasure Island and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, like they're really good movies that hold up very well.
If you like that, you should check out Blackbeard's Ghost.
Blackbeard's Ghost. All right.
Yes, it's great.
So June movies, though, I think that's where we got to decide on. We got.
Oh, but we're already doing Hamilton for July.
We can do 2 in July, maybe.
So we're going to do 2 political ones on the same topic, essentially.
Is Johnny Tremaine on Disney Plus? It is not, so we cannot.
Okay.
Oh.
Darn, we'll just have to do Hamilton then.
Well, let's do this. Why don't we decide on a category for movies for this month, and then we can get a couple suggestions from that. Because like we did Muppets for this one, and that's how we landed on Treasure Island. Also, sports movies.
Oh, but we just did Luck of the Irish.
Like 2 months ago.
I just really miss sports. That's kind of sad.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, I love every time I get on Discord and I see Al's sports come back, please. We could do another decom about sports. I would be fine with that.
I'm actually really down for a decom because I have so much fun just like ripping on them.
Let me put it to you this way. I searched sports on Disney Plus, and here are some of the suggestions that we got that are like actual movies. We have Secretariat. We're going to skip Descendants because that showed up somehow. We have Double Teamed, which is a decom.
I like Double Teamed.
We have an extremely goofy movie.
Oh, that's so good.
We have Glory Road, Miracle, Motocross.
Al wants to do Descendants, so let's do that.
No.
I've already seen it, actually.
We have Go Figure, too. The figure skating hockey movie. That's also a decom. Do you not remember that one?
Did they really name it Go Figure? What is this nonsense?
My favorite part of Watch Club is getting Brian to watch these things.
A girl must embrace hockey if she wants to become a champion ice skate. Why?
Must
Why wouldn't she
she?
just practice figure skating? Why wouldn't she practice
You
the
gotta
thing
watch the
that
movie and
occurs
find
on the
out.
exact same arena? Oh my God.
You got Jordan
This is
typing
stupid.
again, too.
Oh, yeah. I haven't had very good experiences the few times me and Jordan have skated, so
Wait, really? Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Ice skated or regular skated?
regular skated. I'm not brave enough to go out on the ice yet. I don't want to be injured and cold, so
I've never ice skated, but I like rollerblading, and everybody says that it's similar. And by me saying that I like rollerblading, I mean I like going to the roller skating rink and going around in circles at a moderate speed.
DMG said not a movie, but Mighty Ducks the animated series. The movies are also on Disney Plus. I would be down to watch the Mighty Ducks.
Are
because
they?
I love that movie. Yes, they are.
that is one movie that I am very curious to see if it holds up to my childhood expectations because I haven't seen it in probably 2
Yeah,
decades.
same.
Mighty Ducks, D2 Mighty Ducks, and D3 are all on here, and also the animated series, which I need to watch at some point. So I think sports movie it is. I think I'm good with that. So we've got Go Figure, Mighty Ducks, and
I wouldn't mind watching Remember the Titans. That's one sports movie that I actually do remember liking. I just haven't seen it in a really long time. It is very socially relevant right now.
I completely forgot that was a Disney movie, actually. So
I feel like I haven't seen that in a long time. So yeah, we can throw that on there.
Okay, so
That is on Disney Plus. So all 3 of those, I think that's a fair.
we gotta do 4 because that's the rules on Twitter. I mean, you can do 3, but I think it's more fun to do 4.
Go Figure is gonna get smoked out of this. Like,
I'm like curious because everything about this movie sounds terrible. I kind of want to watch it anyways, whether or not it gets picked, just to see if it's as bad as I think it's going to be.
Al said add D2.
How about if Mighty Ducks wins, then we'll do a sub poll of which one.
Okay, that's fair.
Let us know in the chat what our fourth selection should be.
There's that Shia LaBeouf golf movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played. That's on Disney
I
Plus.
really don't want to watch that.
I'm just looking at sports movies now. Oh, Rookie of the Year's on here too.
I've never seen that.
That's a really good baseball movie. Does Holes count as a sports movie?
Why would it? Because of the shoes? It's like basketball player shoes that he steals. I love Holes.
Try to count, sure. I don't remember a lot about Holes. We'll have to do Holes at some point.
Yeah. Drew said Holes was my childhood, and John said, that's depressing.
I hope you mean, you very much enjoyed that book and movie as a childhood. Not that you were sent to a labor camp.
Right.
Apparently, Cars 3 counts as a sports movie too.
I have only seen the first Cars movie. I've not seen 2 or 3.
Well, it's great that you haven't seen 2.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 3 because I did watch 2.
I watched all 3 of them as marathon yesterday, and I feel bad for you.
Let's do a rapid fire in the chat real quick. We have officially on the list Remember the Titans, Mighty Ducks, which can potentially be a sub poll, like I said, if it wins. Go figure. And number 4 is going to be, put your answer in the chat.
Al said Cool Runnings. We've got Goofy Movie. We've got 2 Remember the Titans.
No, Remember the Titans is already on the list. We're trying to pick a 4th one.
Like I said, we've got Double Teamed. There's Extremely Goofy Movie. There's Miracle, Motocross. We have Cool Runnings came up. Oh, there's also Alley Cat Strike.
Okay, nobody's helping.
I will second Cool Runnings because I just watched that a few weeks ago, and
That doesn't count then.
How does
You've
it not
already seen it
count?
recently.
Because you didn't take notes when you watched it.
I'll watch it again and I'll take
That's
notes.
fair. Jordan said Johnny Tsunami. I'm totally cool with that. I like Johnny Tsunami.
I actually
That's a
watched
decom.
Johnny Tsunami literally the day before yesterday, but
You guys are not helping
I also
me.
watched Rip Girls last week, so I guess that's off the table too, if anybody was considering it.
Secretariat, Johnny Tsunami, and a Goofy movie, or the Extremely Goofy Movie, are the ones.
I don't really care what goes on the list.
I want to revisit the Mighty Ducks, but I don't think that's going to happen this round. I say go with John says save Cool Runnings. I think we should go with the
All right,
Sandlot.
I'm gonna write down Descendants.
Hold on, is Sandlot on here? Sandlot is not.
Oh,
on here.
okay.
There is a The Sandlot Heading Home, which is a 2007 movie. So
Okay, so Sandlot's off the table.
we got those 3 then.
All right, I guess we can just keep it at 3. Honestly, I didn't hate Descendants,
I don't ever want to see Descendants, but I feel like you guys are going to make me now that I've said that.
but I will say I also am no stranger to trash teen young adult movies either. So
Don't act like Yumi and Al did not watch all of High School Musical, the series, and loved every minute of it.
that's not trash. That is very not trash. I'm talking Degrassi Next Class. That's what I think consider trash teen TV slash.
Oh boy,
whatever.
you're getting fired up.
Degrassi Next Class you think is good? Did you watch Degrassi Next Generation? I know you're not laughing at me down there. Class is laughing at me.
I was like, wait, what's going on?
He literally laughed so loud I could hear him from upstairs.
Oh, goodness.
Oh yeah, no. High School Musical, the series is not trash at all.
I thought the whole point of it was that it was supposed to be like a teen trash show, and I very much enjoyed it.
I thought it was going to be, but it ended up not at all. It ended up being truly quality.
Oh, boy. Well, any final thoughts on Muppets Treasure Island before we wrap this week up?
Dang. Mario getting roasted in the chat.
I know, like you all. This is the last time I pick a movie. For all the hate, I did really like it, and I do at some point intend to like type up a list of my favorite Muppets movies so that everybody can tell me that it's wrong.
Is Angels in the Outfield on Disney Plus? Because if it is, that could be our 4th pick because it's baseball and it's apparently baseball season, which I would probably not have known if someone hadn't said it.
It's almost hockey season again. It is not.
It's not on Disney
Yeah,
Plus.
Rookie of the Year is on there too, which that's a baseball movie.
I'll add that then.
Have you guys seen Rookie of the Year?
No.
Okay, that may actually be a fun one to watch. I do remember really liking that movie.
I have absolutely no idea what it's about. If you hadn't just said it was about baseball, I wouldn't have even known that.
It's about a boy who breaks his arm and can throw a 100-mile fastball.
Because he broke his arm?
And listen, that's the description on Disney Plus, and I feel like I don't need to give you any more.
All right.
He gets signed to the Chicago Cubs, and it's a fun ride. I will say that. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I do remember. Really
Well, if it wins, we'll watch
It's
it.
out of our hands.
at this point, yeah.
Everybody go on Twitter. I'll probably put up the poll. I'll go ahead and put it up tonight since everybody listening is on, and then keep it up for a few days.
Sounds good. I will vote on that, even though I don't think we're supposed to. All right. Any thoughts from anybody that wants to be unmuted? Anything that you guys want to talk about before we wrap up our watch club? I will take your silence as a no. If
John, remember the tight.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It was a blast as usual.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming on. This is fun.
yeah, see you guys in a couple weeks for another sports related.
Yeah, sports. And then Artemis Fowl.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Hamilton. And then Hamilton.
Oh boy. Go sports. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See ya.